Hi, my name is Adrian Crow. This is Will Turner. We're going to be teaming up here for a pretty cool project that Will approached me on from his website called nopainnogain.ca. I thought it'd be really awesome if we could film what a consultation normally looks like, because I tell people all the time, when you come in, I'll give you a free consultation, but what does that actually mean? Am I going to take you through a workout? Am I going to torture you? Am I going to poke fun, laugh at you? Am I going to ask you all your life questions? Read your fortune? What am I going to do? And in all reality, I keep it a pretty open format. I got some basic questions I'm going to ask, but Will, I want him to mention this project he's got going on, because it's exciting. So let's turn it over to him.
Well, the project, it's pretty much a quarter-life crisis.
A quarter-life crisis.
Yeah, so I'm turning 30 in about 6 months. I'd love to stay active, I'd love to be in the gym, but I don't really ever get the results that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Mostly because my diet's about 4 or 5 different types of pizza and beer, and I realize that's one of the
That's
main
not
issues.
the gaining diet? Come on,
Yeah.
this will really work.
Yeah, so what we're looking to do, we're trying to increase lean muscle mass, we're trying to decrease body fat, and we've teamed up with a bunch of great people. I write for Files News, I've done a couple stories with Adrian in the past, Proline Nutrition, body comp imaging, and great, and also we're working with athletics for kids. So what we're doing is I'm donating money. It's $12 for every pound of lean muscle mass gained, and $10 for every pound of fat lost.
Yeah,
To be verified through the DEXA scan.
Yeah, and that's great. Like, I don't even, the DEXA scan is the highest grade scan you can get. I mean, I don't know, I got to get your book up for that one, but yeah, no, it's nuts. So what I want to talk about first off is, I already know Will. If you go check out the website again, nopainnogain.ca, he's got the Good to Great project going on right now. And what you're going to notice is he's already got content up there as far as your workouts, as far as being bruised and in pain at the start of a project. But what I want to figure out is a lot of the times in a consult, it comes down to mapping and trying to figure out, okay, what time frame we're working with, what is your current level of activity, do you have any injuries, all that kind of stuff. So I like to write on my magic whiteboard. I write in pink normally if it's a guy, but I won't do that to him this time. So the Good to Great project. You've got, you turned 31.
December 18th.
So December 18th. And so 3 days before the world goes up?
Essentially, yeah.
Cool, awesome. And so you got the Good to Great project. We're going December 18th. So we're looking at 6 months. Roughly, basically 6 months. Okay, so we've got really 5 to 6 months of full steam. Now, with this, you're getting married when?
Late January.
Okay. So January 2013. Have a wedding. Okay. Now, is the wedding here or
No,
is it?
wedding's Mexico.
Okay, so when do you guys leave before January?
We leave on the 28th.
Okay. So in Mexico. Okay. So the biggest thing that I guess we're looking at is, I always go backwards. You have to figure your life out backwards if you're going to figure out where the hell you're going. So in that concept, you have an increasing amount of time stress, life stress, relationship stress, and everything else that's going to come with that getting closer and closer and closer. And it's all extremely positive. So it's stress is not the greatest word for it, but it is to the body. As much as you go above it, it's stress. So if I'm going, that's why I say 5 to 6 months, is because there's going to be an increasing amount of responsibility that you've got going on. So let's break down a week.
Okay, again, that's pretty good.
You work what days?
Monday to Friday.
Monday to Friday. And that is, what kind of time are we looking at?
Usually, well, it's full time, but I usually work kind of 8 to 4.
Okay, so this is work. Stuff you do with files is that, like, time-based wherever and however?
Well, the good thing about doing separate files, I find myself in gyms pretty often, so I can
That's pretty sweet. Okay, so let's go, everything else you're doing right now. You're doing CrossFit.
Yep.
Okay, how often?
Usually 2 or 3 times a week. So usually on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If I can help it on Monday as well.
This is CrossFit.
Yeah.
And which CrossFit is that?
At Studio 55.
Okay. What other commitments do you have? I know you mentioned like you want to get into rock climbing, jiu-jitsu, like what's going on right now?
You know what? I mean, I've been doing the jiu-jitsu as well. Usually it's Studio 55.
Okay.
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Sorry, just Tuesday, Friday?
Tuesday and Thursday.
Tuesday, Thursday. So both of these are at Studio 55. So far that leaves a very open weekend. So what is your weekends normally? What happens on your weekends?
Weekends, usually like to go for a run at some point. I usually have at least one.
Nothing? Okay.
Sometimes Saturday mornings I'll take just a basic weights workout, chest and arms type thing.
Chest and arms on a Friday, and pizza and beer diet. This sounds pretty common.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're looking at somewhere in you basically have somewhere between 5 and 7 workouts already committed. Between jiu-jitsu and CrossFit and running and anything else that goes on. So the question comes down to is, you're looking at 90 minutes approximately for each of those.
CrossFit is usually only about an hour. Actually, they're both hour-long classes.
So, but time you get to the gym, time you leave is
2.5 hours, I guess.
So you're looking at 2.5 hours. Times that, I've got somewhere between 13 to say 18 hours a week already committed to, jiu-jitsu, CrossFit, getting back and forth, running, basically just being active. So the reason why I mention that is because you've got to come up with 168 hours a week. And you're already booking 13 to 18 of those hours. Well, and this is where you holy wow, this is why efficiency of what you're doing and the amount of time you're providing. Because the biggest mistake that you and I and any other person is going to make is, well, I'll do more, I'll just do more, I'll just do more, I'll just do more. But then it's, I've committed 24 hours of my life, which is a whole day out of my week. So right now, this is basically 10%. Now, sleeping wise, how much do you sleep?
Not as much as I'd like, actually. I find I'm usually only getting about 7.5.
Okay, and you feel that's not enough?
No, not really. I definitely need a good 8.
So you get, this is training. You're getting 52 hours of sleep. You've got 40 hours of work. So I'm looking at so in just stuff that you've committed yourself to, that doesn't leave a lot. So I'm taking 58 hours. You've got 8 hours per day to shower, get ready for your day, cook, clean, sit for a moment, get back and forth to places, go grocery shopping your entire day. You have an 8-hour day is what's left on average. So it's figuring out, am I going to take another 1 hour every day? Well, I'm cutting that down to 7. Am I going to start doing way more cardio? I might cut it down to 6 hours. That 6 hours is time with the fiance. That's time with whatever. And so that's where it gets tricky. Is that you really don't want to use that probably 70% of your usable time because of downtime that you need. Or question we'll get to is, looking at for injuries in the past or health issues, anything like that? So do you have any injuries that we're going to end up facing?
No, I'm pretty healthy these days. So
So you haven't rolled an ankle, haven't ripped a shoulder, haven't?
not in quite some time. I'm good.
Do you generally find that you get run down?
Actually, these days, just being more active, I find that for some reason, I feel like I'm adjusting a little bit better.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's usually the case.
Before, like right when I started, when I was getting off the couch, then I definitely felt like really run down all the time. But now I feel a little bit more.
Well, but today you said you feel pretty beat up.
Yeah.
You got blisters going on the whole bit. You got to show them the CrossFit injury.
Yeah, it's a pretty.
Yeah, the typical CrossFit injury for sure.
On both ends.
That's what happens when you play with barbells all day. So, if injuries aren't an issue and you're not facing them right now, then the question always comes down, especially if you're an athlete, and this is really important, is so injury and illness prevention becomes a big deal because you're going to have some kind of injury. I have some kind of training injury probably every single time I work out. Something as minor as, stub my finger on the dumbbell. That's a sort of training injury because it might affect me for a couple of sets. So it's an injury that has a very short-term effect. I don't notice or I don't remember it the next day. I tend to scuff up my shins on deadlifting, so 2 days later when I go to re-deadlift again, it bothers me. That might affect my form because I'm worried about hitting the bar against my shin. About once every 6 months, I end up having more serious injuries, like I pull my lower back, or and I have common injuries like I tore my glute when I was younger, so it can be an issue if I do too much posterior chain work and I don't work my abs enough, whatever. But especially in such an aggressive style like CrossFit, you have to think about what's the mobility work, what's the dynamic stretching work, you're very prudent with your warm-ups, but when it comes down to it, in a cold season around the time that all of this is going on, and as you start getting closer to your date, you're going to want to push harder. You go pushing harder, your immune system takes a little bit of a hit, and then what? Okay. So this is where, taking a look at the amount of time that you're spending is, if I erased the entire equation, other than your work, because you have to have work. I said, what's the amount, if I can give you only 20 hours of training per week, which is actually a lot, okay? Or exercise, let's say. If you have 20 hours of exercise per week, how would you ultimately divide it up to accomplish the result that you're looking for? So Will I asked him to choose a picture of what he's trying to reach. So, whether it's look like a bodybuilder, look like a Men's Health cover, and the picture you sent me was perfect. It's exactly your build. It's not far reaching. It's not to say it's going to take you 6 years to get there. It should actually take this time frame to get you there. But, and this is where either my opinion or experience comes into play. It's like, okay, if you're number one good, your goal is to get to a certain look, a certain performance, a certain feeling. First of all, we know what the picture looks like. So we have the picture. We know what the aesthetics are. So if I know what the aesthetics are, what does it feel like? What's the feeling you're chasing at the end of this? Is it that I just feel like a badass? I feel like I'm strong. I feel like I'm super fit. I feel like if my buddy asked me to go run a half marathon right now, I could do it. And then my buddy the next day asked me to go play, go do CrossFit, I could do it. Like, what's the feeling that you're looking for?
That's a good question. I really do like the idea of, just being able to do anything, go for the run, work out, roll, stuff like that. that. That's great. Other than that, just generally just feeling it.
To me, that sounds like the energy to do it. The energy needs to be high enough to be able to always be able to go and do whatever it is, and that you have the body in the shape that you want it to be able to do whatever it is that you want to do. So I think it's the two. If I have to put that in there. And then comes the ultimate question of performance and what kind of performance you're chasing. So obviously we all know bodybuilders, they train to look pretty, and that's it. They're built for show. And not to say that they can't become incredibly strong, but the main focus is what it looks like in the end. So the question becomes like, okay, with CrossFit, it's solely based on performance. When you focus on getting better at a certain lift, you then become better at the performance of whatever the workout of the day is. At Jiu-Jitsu, it's the same thing. You learn more and more and more technique, and you get better at the sport. So is there a certain performance standard that you're looking for? And it can be anything. It can be as simple as being like, I can do one sit-up now, and I want to be able to do 10 at the end of it.
That's a good question. At this stage, because I'm pretty new to CrossFit, for example, one thing that bugs me most, I don't mind if I can't do as many or if I can't lift as much. And one thing that really bugs me is when I can't do it at all.
But that's a technique piece where you feel like, if I can paraphrase it probably, it's you don't want to feel like an idiot doing it.
Yeah, that's
right. It does. I don't care what weight I lift either. I don't care that I can outlift people. I don't care that people can outlift me. But I care that I look like I know what I'm doing, that I'm striving to get better at it, that I'm not just chasing weight for the sake of it, right? Because I think that happens a lot, where you and me, we have relatively the same build. We're relatively the same height. We're long and lean limbs, all that kind of stuff. So if I can lift double what you can, you might try to up it a little bit more than what you're capable of. But if that doesn't matter to you and you're not ego-minded like that, then it's perfect. Is there a certain workout of the day that you've done so far that just completely kicked your ass and you want to be able to kick its ass?
Pretty much all of them kick my ass pretty well. But if I had to pick one,
yeah.
And I'll pick the worst one. I'll go with Fran.
Fran. Okay, I don't know people from my CrossFit, but I know the Murph. I don't know the Friends. I don't know the
Fran is 21, 15, 9. It's 21 thrusters, I believe.
Yeah.
Then 21 pull-ups, 15 thrusters, 15 pull-ups, 9 thrusters, 9 pull-ups, 4 times. And I think the last time I did it with like a not even close to respectable time, like 12 minutes. People rattle this off in like 3.
Okay, so you're going 21 thrusters, 21 pull-ups, 15 thrusters, 15 pull-ups, 9 thrusters, 9 pull-ups.
I believe so, yeah.
And that's just the whole thing, and people are rattling 3 minutes and they hit you twice.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Have you done it since?
I actually haven't done it since. That was a long time ago too.
Okay, and you're using pull-ups off gym rings?
No pull-ups off the bar.
Okay, and are you guys doing kips?
We are doing kips.
What? Can you remember what failed you?
Like
everything?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's conditioning.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Muscular fatigue, like the inability to grip the bar anymore.
Yeah.
Squat thrusters could be like lactic acid on the legs, shoulders. What kind of weight were you using?
I'm not sure if I was using the standard weight at the time. I think it's just 45 is the mark. It's the standard weight.
I'll look into it because the thing is, in all reality, that's a really good performance test. So at the end of every month, you know exactly what day, at what time you have that workout coming in, and you're going to keep testing. Right? Yeah. Gives you something to aim towards and know very clearly whether you're making performance gains or not. And the thing about CrossFit is it's not like other workouts you see in a gym where as soon as somebody's done a boxing class, for example, in a fight world, they run to the dumbbells and they start busting out bicep curls. CrossFit doesn't care about that at all, which is, you know, the benefit of it is that the people look jacked, almost gymnastics jacked, because it's so full body. And there's arguments for and against CrossFit, I won't go into it, but the biggest part of that is always whether or not you're performing better than what you performed last time yourself, and that's the beauty of what it does. So we can test all of that. Now, is there any other like 10K marathon, like is there any endurance type sports stuff you want to test or do?
I'm definitely open to it. I haven't put as much thought to it. And I like running. It's not something that I do.
The reason why I say is I personally have a commitment to one of my clients. She's going to be turning 50 in May of next year. And she's committed herself to run 50 marathons by the time she turns 50. So she's already, I think, 42 or something into it. And she's been doing 10 a year for the past little while. And so we've committed, me, my girlfriend, and a bunch of other people committed to run her 50th marathon with her. But I'm like, I hate running, I'm okay at it, but I just hate it. So I'd probably better do a half marathon sometime in October or November. It kind of works out if you want to train together. We can train for something like that because it's so completely, you know, it fits in the uber fit category. I can walk out the door and go do it if somebody asks me to. But it doesn't, and it gives us something tangible that we are, you know, that be tangible that we can focus on. So, and it's also something we can say, I ran a half marathon, maybe I'll try a full. Not that I want to run marathons all the time, not at all. It'll probably be the only thing I ever do. But something to eat. So if we come back to this 20 hours of training per week, and your goals are, I would say half, just from conversation we've had, I'd say they're half aesthetic and half of this what you want to feel like, right? So do you currently feel like your 2 to 3 CrossFit and your 2 jiu-jitsu workouts are going to get you to this and that? If that's all you did, because you're pretty close. I mean, you're already somewhere between 13 and 18 hours.
I feel like there has to be something missing. Right now I feel pretty good because I'm only, you know, a few weeks into this, so compared to what I was at before, I definitely feel a lot better, you know, I feel a lot stronger, I feel like there's progress being made. Okay. But I'm not really 100% confident with what I'm doing and will it actually achieve what I'm hoping to achieve.
Because the picture he chose wasn't that far off of where you, it's realizable within that time frame. You have a lot of options as to the direction you want to travel. We could go CrossFit, we could go bodybuilding, we could go sport training, we could go Zumba, whatever. I mean, you in a dress would be perfect. I mean, yeah. But I think what would be really interesting would be to take 6-week periods of time, 6 to 8 weeks, and focus on a style of training and turn it into a learning example. So, you know, if you went and hired a trainer who's very much bodybuilding based, you'd accomplish your goal extremely fast as far as aesthetics go. But you'd be built for show, you wouldn't feel like this was coming along, so then at some point you would have to switch to performance feel-good stuff, which is more where CrossFit aims at. And then you're bouncing back and forth, and this is what goes wrong for guys especially, is this training ADHD, where it's like, oh, I want to be big, I want to be ripped, I want to be fit, I want to be this, I want to be that, I want to be this, and it's like, okay, look, like, choose a direction, travel it for just long enough to accomplish something within that realm, and fine, train differently. But it would be dumb if I went from hardcore bodybuilding to training to run a marathon. And then I'm going to go jump at CrossFit, and then I'm going to go become great at aquatics. Because they don't slide very well into each other, then anything you gain on one scale, you're going to lose as you change your training style. So the reason why I come to this is because in 6 months you either pick one path and you stay the course and you change your programs every 4 weeks or so. And you know, obviously CrossFit changing their workout every day. But you either pick a path and we can work that out. You either pick a path and stay and just get better as you're going along. where you take it more as a learning experience to go, I want to understand the concepts of bodybuilding, the pros and cons. We can take it as a learning experience, you can vlog the hell out of it. Then you can go, okay, well, what is it more like to train like an athlete? What is it like to combine the two? That kind of stuff. So, thoughts on that?
I'm up for it.
Yeah? Because and just the thing that really struck me with the project, the reason why I say this is because you're like, I want to try everything. I want to do everything. I want to, true, full-on quarter life crisis style. Yeah, try everything. And so, okay, do you feel like, pure choice, next month you either feel 25% more uber fit, or you look 25% more?
It would depend on the day. The days when I know I have to do like a CrossFit workout,
yep.
I really wish I was a lot
more fit.
Fit.
Okay.
And then other days I just want the aesthetics. Tough call.
Okay, but I'm asking you to pick. That's a tough one.
Let's go aesthetics.
Aesthetics first. Let's try this in 4-week chunks. So if I've got 6 months, I've got 24 weeks to get this done. Okay? So just because this is such a gain experience project and way of going about it, and this isn't how I would suggest people normally go about it unless you're a human guinea pig, which I love being, which I know this guy loves being. So if we go 4 weeks of aesthetics, flip to 4 weeks of performance, and then a blend of the two, you should end up 50% better in both categories at the 50% mark of your 24 weeks. Okay? Then it takes longer training cycles, macro cycles, all that kind of stuff to complete things. So like I said, I don't want to have training ADHD where I'm like 4 weeks of this, 4 weeks of that, 4 weeks of this, 4 weeks of that, because you just end up nowhere at the end of the year. But if I go 4 weeks aesthetics, 4 weeks of this training for performance, and you kind of forget the aesthetics a little bit, and then 4 weeks of a combination, which is how I train most guys, is a combination, because most people that come to me are not the bodybuilding crowd. They're not the I want no neck. I don't have those clients. But it doesn't mean they don't want bigger chest or bigger arms or better ab definition. So we'll combine the two. And then what we'll decide is whether the last 6-week cycle, you'll have 2 6-week cycles. Whether you go, okay, we're too far off the aesthetics, so we really got to focus on that, or we're really far off of, I feel great, I think I look great, but man, I'm still getting my ass kicked on CrossFit still. I don't feel like a badass. So we'll decide at that point which one is more important for that. So during that 4 weeks, of whichever one it is, you need to take 10 out of your 20 training hours and focus on that piece. Okay? So jiu-jitsu right now is costing you 5 to 6 hours. In travel time set up, by the time you get in the door and get out the door, it's 5 to 6 hours of the 10 you have left. So I have 4 hours that you can focus on something else. So that actually allows you to probably keep your CrossFit. Okay? Say that's 2 hours, 2-3 hours. You have 1 hour to 2 hours where you can do something that doesn't relate whatsoever to aesthetics a week. And I think that's the one major piece you've got to decide on what you want to do. And it may just be, this Saturday I'm going to go and try rock climbing. This Saturday I'm going to go and try and run for an hour to an hour and a half. This Saturday I'm going to go climb the grouse grind. This Saturday I'm going to do whatever. I think there's a lot of fun you can have with them. But you only have that 1 hour to hour and a half. You can't commit to more BJJ, you can't commit to more CrossFit, because that's our first picture. When we get to here, I'm going to say bump that up, flip it. You only get 2 workouts a week that are probably whole body aesthetics based. Right? You'll be crippled from them, I'll just tell you that up front. But when you start breaking it down backwards, it gives you a good idea. So now I have 10 hours to work with for the first 4 weeks on aesthetics. So how am I going to break that up? So by the time you walk in the gym and the time you walk out, that would give me 4 2.5-hour sessions. Now it doesn't mean he needs to work out for 2.5 hours. Everybody knows by the time you get in, get changed, get your water, converse with your trainer, do your warm up, do your session, and then do some foam rolling at the end of it so you're not crippled. That's 2.5 hours. You may be committed to the gym for that 2.5-hour time frame. So I've got 4 sessions that we need to specifically program for. Then the other thing is we need to decide how many of those 4 sessions am I going to see you in a week based on our schedules and availability and all kind of stuff. And how many of those are you going to do on your own? Okay? So, does all that make sense? So now what I got to look at is if I erase part of this board, we know what we're doing there. And I'll summarize this all. We'll put it all in email and you can blog about it. So now the biggest thing is deciding as a trainer what it is that we have to focus on. So I think part of that comes down to we should look at your DEXA scans. When's the next one you're doing?
Actually, I hadn't planned on doing another one until
To the very end?
Till the very end, but I'm not opposed to kind of a midway.
I think the 12-week would be good. I think it'd be a good way to check it out. I'll look at the numbers again. I have a body fat scale too. So I think every month we should step on the body fat scale. I don't care about the relation between the DXA, which is 100 times more accurate than a body fat scale. But what I need to know is, are we making progress fast enough? And we need to set some decent goals. Between how you look now and the picture that you sent me, it looks like there's probably 10 pounds of muscle there.
Oh yeah.
Okay? And I honestly, I don't think it's any more than that. I just think, like, okay, that's 10 pounds in 6 months. You need to gain 1.5 to 2 pounds of muscle every month. Which sounds, oh, that's easy. I'll just eat, an extra steak or something. And it's not. It's really, really hard. You need to create enough of a catalyst via your workouts to cause that muscle gain to happen. The fat loss, in all reality, because of your leanness already, is just going to come as a product of working out. Your diet we can clean up. That's not, that's for us. It's the reason why guys eat like shit all the time is just because we can. Ladies, you're screwed. You can't get away with it, so stop trying. But if I go, I have 1, 2, 3, and I have 4 workouts. So, and I'll help you pick this apart. We'll the next time I see you, we'll most likely do an assessment of his movement pattern so I can take a look at stuff. We should do, have you done before and after pictures of Massey yet?
We just did the before one this past weekend. It wasn't sent to me yet.
Okay, so when he sends it, you haunt him about it. So he's had before pictures professionally taken. What we want to do when it comes to aesthetics is, and I do this a lot with women that are chasing aesthetic reasons why they're training, which can be the majority of them, is which part of your shoulders isn't developed enough, which part of your chest isn't developed enough, how defined are your abs, because for the most part in the fitness industry we just tell people if you had less body fat you'd have a six-pack. And while that's true, I may still need to develop and thicken and bulk out my rectus abdominis, which is my six-pack muscle, if I'm actually going to see it when I'm at a low enough body fat percentage. Because, my 12-year-old brother, who was super ripped, had a six-pack. But that's just because of his anatomy. I wouldn't say he had a six-pack because he built it. It didn't look like, a muscular six-pack. It just looked like an anatomy chart because he was skinny enough. And that's, to me, a terrible look. I think, you see this all the time where somebody says, oh, it's great he has a six-pack, but he weighs 120 pounds. Who cares? Like, hooray for you. That doesn't mean that you look fit or jacked or whatever we're chasing. So we'll pick apart your before picture and go, this is where we want to add muscle, and that's how you choose the exercise selection. That's how I design what program you're in. Because you might need to, there's a million different ways to split body parts, and generally speaking, they should be done on a rotational basis. So when a person starts out, and mind you, we've got 4 weeks, so I may not go this way. You usually want to do upper body, lower body. And the reason why is because there's not going to be enough volume given to each body part unless you have, say if I've got 4 workouts in a week, that gives me 2 uppers, 2 lowers. Guys generally don't want to train legs more than twice a week because we get crippled because we just don't train legs like ladies do with their lunge-a-thon. So upper lower is generally a good way to start. You can, from there, you generally go full splits. So you start breaking body parts up. So now you have a chest and a tricep day, you have a back and a bicep day, you have a leg day, you have an ab and a shoulder day. It's a good way to go. I'm hitting that body part once a week, which can be enough, but I really have to hit that body part, more bodybuilder-ish style. So when I cut it to splits, that's how you break it up, is you start figuring out what body part on what day. When you've done upper to lower and transition into full splits, the best way to go is always to transition the opposite way, which is full body. And then back to upper lower, then a full split. So if a person was, you know, say this guy's 6'1" and he's 150 pounds and he wanted to be 200 pounds one day, I would put him through cycles all the time of, you know, maybe 4 weeks of full body training, then 8 weeks, so this is 4 weeks, 8 weeks of upper lower, and then maybe another 8 weeks of full body part splits. Changing the program still every 4 weeks, or every 6 workouts, or whatever it works out to be. So I think we should start here with upper lower. What that means is most likely, because of, you know, I know our schedules and stuff like that, the most available time I'm going to have is possibly one evening in the week, and then probably once a week. So I don't know how that works with your schedule. We can work that out later. But that means most likely I'm going to see you twice a week, and I need you to do 2 gym-based workouts on your own twice a week. Now the form, the exercise selection, all that stuff will be a lot more dumbed down at the beginning. And what'll happen is our first 2 sessions, I'll take you through the upper body workout I want you doing on your own, and the lower body workout I want you doing on your own. When I know that that foundational work is being done, then I can do the more complicated work. I can actually help you with, you know, the deadlift, the clean, pieces that will work for aesthetics as well, but will have carryover into your CrossFit. Because in CrossFit, you don't break it down. You don't learn a high pull, a clean separate, a front squat, you know, a snatch. Like, you don't really learn all of the breakdown. They just say, okay, you're going to do a clean and jerk today. And you go, well, I've never done a clean and I've never done a jerk. I guess I'm just going to do this whole movement right from scratch. But maybe, and we talked about this, maybe first pull to the hip is the fast part, but second pull above the body is the slow part. So how do you speed up second pull? Well, generally speaking, you need stronger traps, you need more explosive traps. Maybe some hang snatch work might actually improve your clean work. So we can work on it. And I have no problems, because I train that way anyway. I have no problems trying to bring performance-based movements that happen to have an aesthetic carryover. Because if you look at true Olympic powerlifters, those guys look thicker and more dense than bodybuilders anyway. They just don't have the size because they don't care about it. But they're dense, they're hard as hell, their traps are huge, their neck, their shoulder, all that stuff is big. So that'll take us up to the first month. We'll switch to the performance stuff on the second month. That's where we have a lot of fun. That's when I bring out all the toys, from fat grips to kettlebells to, you name it. And that's, you know, TRXs, everything else. So one thing I would like to do is film you while we're doing your workouts, and film just parts of it. So if you have a superset, we'll film that superset. We can throw, like, you don't have a YouTube channel, right? You just have the blog.
I don't have a YouTube channel.
Okay, and I don't think there's a reason to, but I think what we could do is I'll just build a playlist at, you know, the Good to Great project and link through to yours. And then what we'll do is we'll film his workouts as they progress, so we can see all of it. And you could be like, okay, my deadlift is getting better, it's this, now it's that, you know, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of fun with that. I just don't want you crossing 20 hours. It's too easy to. It's too easy to add more. And us skinny guys don't get it well enough. We need to eat more and sit on our ass a lot more to grow. Because in all reality, you and I, we could go walk for 4 hours right now, no problem. It'd be boring as hell. We would walk for 4 hours, and then at the end of it, we could probably go eat a small burger, you know, a little bit of pizza and a little bit of beer, and call it a day. And I would be totally happy, but I've just burned an extreme amount of calories puffing it for 4 hours, and I haven't taken in a lot. So, you know, skinny people tend to eat like birds. We don't eat enough. And then we also tend to be really active on that little amount of food, so we don't ever get the chance to grow. So this is where, you know, when I ask you how much you sleep, you do sleep enough for what you need. I don't sleep enough for my needs. That's my own challenge. Can you think of anything else that's going to stand in the way? Anything that's going to be a challenge you have to overcome? Anything like that? Dietary wise, where do you feel like you need to make the biggest strides?
The one thing that I notice I really need to work on is preparing my own food.
Okay.
These days I manage to, even when I eat out, I usually eat fairly well.
Yeah.
But yeah, just getting the habit of cooking my own food and bring my own food to work with me, that's where I'll stay consistent.
Do you have a set meal plan or diet that you sort of follow?
Not really.
Do you think you need one?
Could hurt.
Okay. So that's something that we can talk about, because there's lots of different ways to go. But when it comes down to it, I think, we say this all the time, but those that plan to fail to plan, right? And so that's what's going to happen is a lot of the times, if I don't know what my third meal of next Wednesday is going to be, I'm most likely just going to eat whatever's around. So that's where consistency on the recovery end, which is actually way more important than the catalyst, is super important. So I think people, they don't understand, especially us lean dudes, we don't understand enough that we don't grow in a gym. In fact, when I walked in the gym, I was bigger, stronger, and fitter than when I walked out. Because all I did when I came in here is I broke down my muscle, I used up all my energy, be that blood sugar, muscle sugar, liver sugar, muscle triggers, whatever, used up all of your energy. You left the gym here, you're actually whittled down. And the fact that if I don't eat enough, if I don't sleep enough, and if I don't get enough stress reduction, I'm not going to grow out of that catalyst, which is what the workout is supposed to be. So the bigger plan in all reality has to be not the 20 hours of training that you have, but what you're doing with the other 148 hours. So we'll map all that stuff out to you. Any questions? No? Okay. Any insights?
Actually, I've never seen my week broken down.
Yeah, your life written out like that?
So I think just recognizing the amount of time I'm putting in and what it's leaving me with, and where I should be, that's pretty interesting.
Okay. So one last question I guess I'd have is, fiance, is she ever going to want to work out with you?
Actually, she works out with me quite often. We frequently do CrossFit together.
Okay.
On occasion do the yoga or the kickboxing, and I just got her to try